1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All mine.
One of resistance,
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
rebellion,
Rebellion is built on hope.
and redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
Well, hello there and welcome to Star Wars Reactions. Welcome back. We're so happy you are joining us for our 189th episode. It is going to be great. We're going to have a blast. So let's get some introductions out of the way and let's get caught up. My name is Aaron Harris, and joining me as always, he is my friend, my co-host, my brother in the Force. He is the David Matas. David, what's up, brother?
Well, just glad to be back again with you after you held down the fort once again with the Saga World News. I'm loving those, and just so you know that. And ready to record tonight, ready to react. That's for Greg McLaughlin, always ready to react. And looking forward to covering this topic that you came up with.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun episode, great topic, and it's just something fun to discuss. We haven't had we've been covering Acolyte, and then before that Bad Batch, and it feels like we've just gone back to back to back everywhere. So it's nice just to be able to sit back, chill, and have just a real good topic discussion and have some fun with it. So let's get going. So we are before we jump into that discussion, we've actually had some pretty adventurous time the past couple of weeks. You've probably heard us if you've been listening to other shows. We've been popping up all over the place, haven't we, David?
Absolutely, man. You and me both.
Yeah, you were on a recent Coffee with Kenobi, and then I popped up on Reading Between the Reels on their 99th episode. Then I know last night you recorded with Reading Between the Reels for their 100th episode, which was actually just a hodgepodge of some of the greatest podcasters out there joining together to have some fun.
Yeah, we had, Dan Zeev and Corey Clubb from Coffee with Kenobi. We had Dennis Keithley from Podcast Stardust. Who else we have? We had all the guys from Reading Between the Reels. Craig's got two co-hosts there. Ross Hollivan. Ross was great. He and I were really vibing on all of our answers to a large extent, but Ross is from the Album Cockpit podcast. And then Tom Riddle. I don't really know him really well, but he's one of those teachers who does a lot of Star Wars stuff. He was really fun to be on with as well. So it was quite a crew last night, and we missed you. We knew you were supposed to be there, but you had some other stuff. But yeah, you were on number 99. I'm on number 100. And and I would encourage people, that's going to be coming out, I believe, next week, but I would also still just encourage people to go back and listen to Coffee with Kenobi number 778, I believe it is, where we cover psychology, spirituality, and mythology of the Acolyte. So that was a lot of fun too.
Yes, it was. It was definitely a highly recommended episode to go check out and hear David fully engulfed in his elements in that discussion. So fantastic episode that was. I can't wait to hear the 100th episode of Reading as well. 'Cause like you said, I was supposed to be there, but unfortunately I had a last minute event pop up on my planner that I didn't know about, and ended up was running sound for an event and had to get somewhere quiet. The quietest place I could find was an amp room where I could send them a quick voicemail. But if you know anything about sound production and audio equipment, the amp room is not the quietest room on the planet. but it was the quietest room where I was, which is saying something. So hopefully it came through fine. So, but anywho, we have a fantastic discussion today. We're going to have a lot of fun because we are going to discuss lightsaber duels. This is going to be so much fun. This is a topic that, I think just came out of a quick discussion. We were just chatting, and were we chatting with? We were chatting with Greg McLaughlin, weren't we, when this was birthed?
I think so.
I think it was a text exchange. We were
yes.
We were going through, and I'm like, I feel a topic. So we're discussing all about lightsaber duels. We're going to hit on several different topics about what we like about lightsaber duels, what makes a good lightsaber duel or lightsaber battle. Then, of course, you can't have this type of discussion without discussing our favorite lightsaber battles and duels. So it's going to be a fun episode. I am so looking forward to this. So let's get the ball going. So, of course, lightsaber duels we have seen pretty much since the Star Wars first came out. Everybody remembers the duel between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader on board the Death Star there in A New Hope, where we see Darth Vader cut down Obi-Wan and make him one with the Force. I'm a Force ghost now.
Apparently.
But it was that was our first glimpse into lightsaber battles. Then, of course, we saw them just grow from there with Empire Strikes Back between Vader and Luke. Then again in in Return of the Jedi. Then we saw a whole new world of lightsaber battles when we got into the prequels. I mean, it was just a completely different world, a lot more fast paced, a lot more movements, actions. It was insane. The difference between the old trilogy, the original trilogy, and the prequels. Then, of course, we saw all kinds of lightsaber battles throughout the Clone Wars. We saw some in Rebels. Then, of course, the sequels came along and we got some in there. So we have seen lightsaber duels, lightsaber battles throughout the saga. And it has been really a point of entertainment and enjoyment for a lot of fans. So I know I enjoy a good lightsaber fight. How about you, David? What are your thoughts on lightsaber duels in general?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, you and I have touched base on this. To be an 8-year-old in 1977 and watch A New Hope for the first time on the big screen, and the way that ended with that battle between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, let alone the Death Star and the trench run and stuff, I walked out of there going, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable, but to specifically focus on the lightsabers, it's just this, incredibly cool thing. I was looking at what you had said about, what we like about them. And I thought about it. They call back to the stuff that really formed George Lucas, right? The old series of Flash Gordon and probably even, Errol Flynn, some of his sword fights. I think about Zorro and all of that. And what you see George Lucas do is he puts this really cool twist by making, swords lightsabers and then different colors. That's beyond cool. And then, creating them to be able to do a lot of different things. Obviously in that first movie, we don't see them blocking blaster bolts, but then when you start to see that, I guess you do a little bit with Luke on the Falcon, but again, as we move on, being able to see Luke, like on Endor, right, deflect those laser bolts and then cut off the front of that speeder bike with a scout trooper on it. You're like, what? And so just, it's been so cool to see that. And again, just have an original, I think, really neat twist on sword fights.
Oh yeah, very true. And I love how you brought in Errol Flynn and the old swashbuckling movies, because I grew up on those. I'm not old enough to have watched them when they came out, but my dad introduced me to those at a young age, and I love uh, the old swashbuckling movies with Errol Flynn, the Seahawk, Captain Blood's one of my favorites, and where they just have their pirates and swashbuckling, and it's just full of action and adventure. And these lightsaber fights do bring us that same kind of enjoyment and excitement, and especially as the creative art behind the lightsaber improved through the years. I know we look at the lightsaber battles from the throughout the trilogies, and we look at the original trilogy, and they were great fights, but they were a little bit slower pace. They were tempered. There wasn't a lot of very fast paced movement. But then you progress to the prequels, and it is literally just quick movements, fast blood swords flashing everywhere, just all that. I go immediately to a scene that pops in my mind is the Kenobi versus Anakin at the end of Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
And that the way they start off, and as fast as they're going, just spinning, and their lightsabers are, you try to replicate that, and you're like recording it in normal motion, then you're speeding it up 5 times, and then you're like half the speed that they're going. It's just insane the level they have stepped up the skill in these lightsaber battles as the series have gone on. Even in the sequels, there are some tremendous lightsaber battles there. Matter of fact, when we just get into later in the episode, when we go into our favorite lightsaber battles, one of those may come up. You never know, but it is a lot of great action, a lot of fun. But what makes a good lightsaber battle, David?
Well, I thought about this. I love how you set this up and asked these questions and got me thinking, not only like what we like about them, but what makes a good one. I do think it's a couple of things. What is the story behind that battle, the setting, and then of course the choreography. We talk about Nick Gillard and what he did in terms of you just mentioned it. And the lightsaber stuff we see in episodes 1, 2, and 3 is just unbelievable. But I think about to go further. I wanted to give a quick shout out to my buddy Clay and his wife Kelly. They both. I texted Clay today and I said, "Hey man, I want to give you a shout out, but just give me your favorite lightsaber battle over all the movies in animation." And he got back with me, and he really did get me thinking about the story, the setting, and so on. But let me read to you what he wrote, because I thought this was really good. Okay, Aaron. So, and this is right with the question you asked. Watch this. Clay says, I feel like the gold standard is the showdown between Anakin and Obi-Wan on Mustafar. For me, that one stands out because of the storytelling and also, a little bit more than the fight mechanics, the choreography. But he said it was the culmination of the prequels, but really it was a culmination of all our assumptions about the relationship between the two, starting with Obi-Wan being struck down in episode 4. It filled in a lot of blanks. And then add this. And he says, I think that was a challenging thing to do. Every Star Wars fan in the world knew that they would face off, and we all had various expectations that would be hard to meet, but more so than any other part of the prequel movies. And he says, I felt this blew expectations out of the water. And I agree with him. I mean, think about it. Everyone knows that fight's coming, and it's part of the story. But, that whole thing was incredible. And let me add this, because as Clay texted me that today, I was thinking back to my DVDs, and I grabbed episode 3. I have it right here in my hands. people, DVDs, physical media. I know it's quite a concept, but the featurettes on episode 1, 2, and 3 are just incredible. And I'm so glad I own these. But I knew there was one, and I wanted to watch it before you and I record. I just didn't have time. But let me read this to you. It's on the back. It's on disc 2. It says, an all-new full-length documentary called Within a Minute. It gives you the most in-depth look ever into the filmmaking process for a Star Wars movie by examining everything and everyone that went into making less than 60 seconds of episode 3. And those 60 seconds are on Mustafar, right? And I wanted to get through it again, but the amount of setting, world building, like Clay mentioned, the story build up from the entire prequels, not just 1 and 2, but 3. And you've got all those things in this battle. And so, I think about all those things, and of course the actors who are doing this, and who are the fight choreographers. And I would even say this, that I think that as I look back on it, and I scrolled through a lot of lightsaber battles on Disney Plus, I think the ones from the prequels are better than the ones in the sequels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in particular, the best one is in the sequels from The Last Jedi. I think that's what you were hinting at. But but the ones that, and we'll get to our top 3 and stuff like that. But so what makes a good lightsaber battle? Story, setting, choreography, all those kinds of things. And I was going to give a quick shout out to Kelly as well, his wife. Her favorite, I'll just let people know this from the beginning. Clay's is episode 3, that battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Kelly's favorite is episode 1, where Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan battle Darth Maul on Naboo. So I just want to give them a quick shout out. I love both of them, and I wanted to get Clay's insight and just kind of be a part of this episode tonight. So how about for you? What makes a good lightsaber battle for you?
Well, you pretty much hit the nail on the head, my friend. It's all about storytelling. Storytelling is the greatest setup for anything you do, any type of action, any type of fight, whether it be a lightsaber battle, space battle, dogfight, whatever. You got to have a good story to hook people in and make them feel the risk in the fight. If you throw 2 people you just don't care about into a fight, and there's no connection with the character, people are going to shrug it off. They will watch it. Doesn't matter how good the fight is, they'll watch it, shrug it off when it's done. So story for me is everything. With it's setting, you can have a fight anywhere. Setting is important, but it's, to me, the end all be all for telling or for having a good lightsaber duel or a good battle with multiple lightsabers is the story. You have to have that setting. You got to have that, foundation with the characters to make you care and really want it about at least about one side. You look at some of these characters, some of these battles. I know like when Clone Wars first started with the micro series, the Tartakovsky's micro series that came on Cartoon Network. Great show, loved it. I was already sold in on a lot of the characters because we know them from the movies. But then they bring in this mysterious Sith assassin, which ends up us being Asajj Ventress, which up until that point I had never heard of. And then having her in the mix in this series and having her in this fight, I had honestly outside, I was all gung ho for Anakin, but I was like, okay, she dies. Okay. Who cares? But it to me, it lost something not having, we got a little bit of background on her in that micro series, but there wasn't, because it was a micro series, like 5-10 minute episodes, there wasn't enough to sell me on the character to have any connection or any buy-in to what was going on. So to me, the story sets the story is your setting. It sets the table for everything that we're going to see. And we see that as we go into our favorite lightsaber battles and our favorite time there, because there's a world of fights throughout the saga and throughout the series that we get to enjoy and have fun with. And when we discussed this list and we had the initial discussion about doing this, the table was wide open. We're going to do whatever. We're going to look at everything: animated, live action, movies, TV shows, books, comics. If you can visualize the fight in your head, go for it. Nothing was off the table for this discussion. So we opened it up, and I know we said we were going to do top 3 is what we agreed on. But I came up with the top 5 because I couldn't narrow it down to 3. So sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. But it's going to be great. And since, I spoiled the party and got more than I should have, I will go first. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will go first. And for me, and we're going to count down. I'm going to start with 5 and go to 1. You go 3 and go there. And for me, my number 5 actually is a fairly recent duel we saw in the show The Acolyte, actually. There at the end of the series, we had the battle between Saul and the Stranger there on Brendok, right there at the end, and they're doing all those crouching tiger, hidden dragon, flying shots, and I mean it was just very intense, very fun, and I really, really enjoyed that fight. It was a lot of fun and a lot of not seen action before. It was very Matrixy to me, and I think that's why it appealed to me, because we hadn't seen that kind of lightsaber battle before. So that's why that's where I came in, and that's where I enjoyed it. And as we're sitting here recording, I'm seeing David playing catch up, throwing in 2 more to his list. I love it. For backstory, here, let's pull back the curtain a bit. Yes. We do for our show notes, we do them in Google Docs. So, and we both have access, so we can update and manipulate and update the notes together, and we can see what each other say. So during the show, we have them pulled up, and I'm sitting here, and as I'm talking, all of a sudden I see the mouse start moving, and I'm seeing words appear, and I'm like, that's funny. That's great. So the one thing and to pull back the curtain a little bit further, the one thing I don't put in the notes is the dad joke of the week, because I want David to legit be surprised with how good or how bad it is. So there's your glimpse behind the curtain of Star Wars reactions.
That's right. As I finish typing my 4 and 5. All right. So do you want me to give my number 5?
Go for it, my brother.
I did have 5. I've got more than that because I have a lot of lightsaber battles in my head. But we alluded to this a little bit earlier, and but it's episode 8, The Last Jedi, the battle with Rey and Ben, or Rey and Kylo Ren versus the Praetorian Guard, is incredibly choreographed. It's unbelievable how they do that, and it's a great battle with those two teaming up to battle these guys who we end up seeing a little bit later, in The Mandalorian season 3, or version of them. But that battle watching that. And again, their story, their setting, the beautiful views, the coloring, and just seeing them even back to back and battling each other or battling the Praetorian Guard would be my number 5. Incredible fight.
Very good. That's good. That's a good one. That's a good one. As I alluded to earlier. For me, number 4 for mine is going actually to episode 1, to the Duel of the Fates. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn versus Darth Maul. That was our first glimpse of this fast-paced, high-energy lightsaber fights, and our first glimpse of that double-bladed lightsaber. So, it was huge for me. I love that fight. It is still a go-to to just sit down and watch a lightsaber fight. One of the best in my opinion. But that is my number 4 on the list. How about you, David? What's your number 4?
Yeah. Well, again, that's my friend Kelly. That's her number 1, episode 1, Maul versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. My number 4. And I was going back and forth on whether to put this in my top 3, but I kind of have 4 and 3 kind of together here. But it's Darth Sidious versus Yoda in episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I wanted this to go on longer, but again, the story behind both of these two characters, the culmination of that battle, that scene, I watched it again this week, where they're both on that podium that Palpatine speaks from in the Senate as it goes up and comes into the Senate, and their lightsabers, red and green, are just going back and forth. It's incredible. And then they stop with the lightsabers, and then it's force lightning, and then throwing those hover pods that all the different delegates in the Senate float around in. And so it's a great I wanted the lightsaber battle to go further, but it's so much more than just a lightsaber battle. But that one, I loved it. I loved Darth Sidious versus Yoda.
Well, that's a good one. That is a fantastic. And I can honestly tell you, I remember exactly where I was when I watched that one for the first time, and that was a great fight. One of the there are a few fights I can tell you exactly where I was, and I was at the Lakeland Square Cinema watching that for the first time when that happened. Oh man, yeah. Chills! It is absolute chills watching that. So number 3, and before I go into number 3, let's. I should have prefaced this before we started this top 3, which morphed into a top 5. These are our opinions. We're not saying this is the end all be all. Everybody's got their favorites. That doesn't make you wrong, doesn't make us wrong, doesn't make nobody wrong. It is what we like, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. So take it with a grain of salt. These are our opinions. We don't believe these should be anybody else's. Yeah. So there we go. For me, number 3 on our favorite lightsaber battles, for me, goes to Star Wars Rebels. It goes to the final battle between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Maul. I know a lot of people don't like that fight because it is so short and so quick, but to me, it was a masterpiece. It showed their mastery of the art of the saber, and it was just it was perfect, especially when when Obi-Wan goes through all the different poses he's ever used in a lightsaber fight, ultimately culminating with the Qui-Gon. I mean, it is. Oh, to me, it's a perfect fight, absolute perfect. So, how about you, my friend?
Yeah, no, that's a great one, and I know you've got a picture of that up in the Star Wars Reactions studios there in Lakeland, right? Is it up, or I mean,
it's
right?
not. I have it. It's not up yet.
Okay.
I'm literally again pull back the curtain behind the scenes. My office is a disaster right now. I am literally about to just start ripping stuff off the shelves, reorganize, change all my displays. And once that's done, then all the pictures are going up.
Gotcha.
So, including those Kenobi pictures. But
Yeah.
yes, I do have the Obi-Wan versus Maul fight. Actually, almost in sequence, honestly. Thanks to the old Topps Authentic Photoshop.
Gotcha. All right, so that's your number 3. That's up there too. My number 3, again, this is where, we look at all the things, not just movies, but not just TV shows, but animation. And this was, and I tell you, I remember Dave Filoni talking about this. This came after the battle between Maul and Pre Vizsla.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Filoni saying, wait till you see this one. And it's the Clone Wars Season 5, Episode 16, called The Lawless. And you see Darth Sidious, animated, right, show up on Mandalore and battle Maul and Savage Opress. And I started thinking about this. And the reason why, I had, Darth Sidious versus Yoda up there, before that battle, Darth Sidious versus Yoda in Episode 3, we do get a quick glimpse of Sidious pulling the lightsabers out when Mace Windu and a crew of Jedi come to arrest him. And he dispatches them pretty quickly, right? And he has that battle with Mace Windu. But before that, we don't really see a whole lot of him battling. Again, that scene and then the one versus Yoda. But this one is really, of course, in the timeline before Episode 3. And this animation in this battle and what he does, Darth Sidious versus Maul and Savage Opress, it's incredible. And, we did talk about story, talk about setting. It's so cool because there's no one around. And it's in the main capital there of Mandalore. And they've got the murals up behind Sidious and Maul and Savage Opress. And it's cool. He ends up killing Savage Opress. And that green mist comes out, right? And he shrinks back to the size he was before. And then when he force lightnings Maul and then takes him captive, you're like, what's going to happen, But incredible fight. And I have that in my top 3.
Very good.
Loved it.
Oh, it's a fantastic fight. It is definitely an absolute fantastic fight. Because I'll admit that one did cross my mind, but the reason I did not go with that for one of my top 5 is because The Lawless has a very, I can't go to that episode without tearing up, because that's the episode where Maul kills the Duchess.
Oh, right. Earlier in
the episode is he kills the Duchess to get to Obi-Wan. And that whole scene of him just holding her as she dies and tells him how that he's always loved him, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't.
I just fast forward, Aaron, to that lightsaber battle. I didn't watch it because that upsets me as well. So I just watched lightsaber battle.
Oh,
so fast forward. There you go.
Yeah, it's probably what I should be doing, but I can't, man. I just, dude, that one gets me. So, we still got a lot more to talk about. We got our top 2 favorite episodes or lightsaber battles, not episodes, coming up. We've even thrown in some honorable mentions. Then, of course, we'll wrap everything up. But before we do have to take a quick break. So bear with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron and David, we are here We are live. We are having fun just discussing lightsaber battles. You know, it's just something simple that everybody loves about Star Wars and everybody's got their opinion of. And we're just sharing ours with you. Before the break, you heard us go through we started our top 5. You heard us go through from 5 to 3. So let's go ahead and break in to our top 2 episodes. Let's go ahead and jump into number 2. Now, for me, my number 2, David, is actually your number 5.
Yep.
And that's that fantastic battle in The Last Jedi between Rey and Kylo Ren, aka Ben Solo, versus the Praetorian Guard. And they're on Snoke's starship. And my Lord, that was, to me, one of the greatest things I had ever seen in a lightsaber battle. There was so much action, so much bodies flying everywhere. You had the curtains covering the windows of the room being in flames, burning as they're fighting. You have them literally, you have 2 people that have been at each other's throat with Ben and Rey teaming up back to back, taking on these Praetorian guards, Snoke's bodyguards. And it is just fantastic. And the culmination of her tossing him the lightsaber just for him to catch it, ignite it, and it just to go through the guy's head behind him. I mean, just the choreography of this fight. It was, to me, was spectacular. I mean, regardless whether you like the prequels or not, or the sequels or not, I don't care. This was just an all-out fantastic fight. Period.
Well, yeah, and I talked about it as my number 5, and I'll say this: it's better than anything in the Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9. You know, because I went back through that as well. You know, I went through again episodes 1, 2, 3. I went through a lot of the Clone Wars. Obviously 4, 5, 6, then did 7, 8, 9 and looked at episode 9 and how that ended. And no, the battle you're talking about in episode 8 is better than, well, anything in episode 7 or 9. That's in my opinion, right? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you there. Out of the sequels, that's the best scene out of all the sequels. That's the best fight scene in the sequels, hands down, in my opinion. And I love Force Awakens. To me, it was a perfect Star Wars movie. But even the only real lightsaber fight we had in that was at the end between Kylo and Rey and Finn, and there wasn't much to that fight. It was decent for what it was, but there wasn't much to it because nobody had real training. No, well, Kylo did, but Rey and Finn definitely didn't. So there wasn't a lot of fast-paced energy moves in that fight like we saw in episode 8.
That's right.
But,
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely the best to come out of the sequels for sure. So how about let's pass the torch to you, David. You're number 2.
Yeah, well, this comes from the prequels here. It's Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon versus Darth Maul, episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Going back and watching that, you know, thinking about Ray Park, and even, you know, listening to George Lucas talk about what he wanted this to look like and how he wanted it to be faster, wanted it to be more of the Jedi in their prime versus what we see in 4, 5, 6, where they have moved out of that and a lot of the Jedi are gone. You know, watching again behind the scenes stuff on my episode 1 DVD, seeing Ray Park get into that outfit, getting the contact lenses in. And then what was kind of cool, and I think solidified it for me, is, you know, you see the moves that he does. Because you and I went to Star Wars weekends, you know, it was cool to see Ray Park do some of those moves. Not only on stage. I had Eli and Lena up on stage one year. I think it was 2012 with Ray Park. And And then during the parade, they did a parade every day during Star Wars weekends. I remember one time, that same weekend that Ray Park was there, right towards the end, he's right in front of the main stage there at Disney's Hollywood Studios. And he does that side flip move that he did in episode 1, when he's battling Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. I mean, we'd never seen anything like it before, and he could still do it, and that was really cool to see. But what he does with a double-bladed lightsaber, and again, well, we talk about the setting, that on Theed and those, shields that are going up and opening and closing, and it's just incredible from start to finish. And then seeing what not just Ray Park did, but the other two who would help in the spots of Ewan McGregor and Liam Neeson. Incredible fight. So that's my number 2.
That is fantastic. That's definitely a fantastic one. That made my top 5 as well. That was number 4 for me. So definitely a great fight. It was well orchestrated and definitely the perfect fight for the first movie of the prequel series, because they were insane after that. So, sure. Well, David, I've looked at this list, and so have you, and pretty much our number 1 is the same fight.
That's right.
And this shouldn't come to surprise anybody, because we have gone through our top 5 and this fight has not been mentioned yet. So you obviously, by reason of deduction, should have probably figured out what battle we are talking about. David, you want to do the honors of announcing both of our number 1?
Absolutely. It's the biggie in episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. It's Obi-Wan versus Anakin on Mustafar. Going back to what my buddy Clay said, I mean, you think about it, we know this is coming. We'd heard hints of it. And, people hype things up, people have expectations, but kind of like you were alluding to a little bit earlier, the speed at which they're throwing those lightsabers around and the battle that they have in the control room outside, lava flying up on the thing that breaks off and they're swinging with the lightsaber, and then they're balancing and the high ground, and oh my gosh, it is unbelievable what they did in this battle. I mean, it met expectations, it passed them. I still watching it again this week, just watching the whole thing, I'm like, this is unbelievable, and just so impressed with this battle. How about you?
Oh man, this battle, a little history for me. I enjoyed this battle from the moment I saw it in the theater. Absolutely phenomenal battle. But after watching the Clone Wars and seeing Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship through that series and how close they were, and the brotherhood and the camaraderie between those two, and to have it finally come to head in that fight, after seeing the Clone Wars, that fight had a completely separate weight to it than it did before. And it made the fight just hit so much harder, because you watch the movie, you just watch the movies, you watch just for the movies, then yes, that's a great fight and it's awesome. But when you get, again, like we've talked about, setting the stage and getting the story told and seeing so much story of their relationship built through the Clone Wars, and then watch episode 3 and see this fight, oh man, it just packs such a stronger punch, an emotional punch, and they just really sold it hard in that shot, in that fight. From starting on the landing pad, where with the unconscious body of Padme laying there, going down that hallway where they are just literally, there's no room, so you see their saber hitting the wall as they're going back and forth, into the control room and the conference room. Oh my gosh. I mean, it is just incredible. Then they end up on the flow of lava. Oh man, it is just so powerful and so intense and so action packed. And by this time you've watched the three movies, you have an investment in these characters. And granted, watching the trilogy, we watched the original trilogy, we know what happens to Anakin. We know he's Darth Vader. We know he gets in the suit. We know gets injured. But to finally see how we go from Anakin Skywalker, the man, to Vader, more machine than man, is gut wrenching. And all because of this fantastically choreographed, set, and executed fight.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I'll say this just to completely agree with everything you said. And look, it's incredible. You don't need the Clone Wars to enjoy it. Of course, it didn't exist when you and I watched it in 2005. However, and you can hear it in Aaron and me, the Clone Wars enhances Episode 3 so much, not only in this battle, but helping you to understand why Anakin would leave. Because before, from Episode 2 to Episode 3, people were like, really? Why? What? You're joining the Emperor? You're battling Obi-Wan on Mustafar? Well, the Clone Wars really fills a lot of that. And again, you don't have to watch all of that to do it. But just like Aaron said, if you do, it makes this lightsaber battle even more meaningful. And like Aaron said, it just hits.
Yeah, definitely. Well said. So, well, that closes out our top 5. But like I said, there are so many lightsaber battles that we could have picked from, and there's some that we didn't pick for our top 5, which definitely deserve honorable mentions. Because I'm sure there's people sitting at home listening, or sitting at the office listening, shouting at the top of the lungs, "What about this one?"
Oh, yeah.
Because there are a lot of great ones, like going into Episode 2, Phantom or Attack of the Clones, when we see Dooku versus Yoda.
Oh yeah,
that was a tremendous fight.
Oh,
I remember the first time I saw that fight. When the movie was released, it was in theaters. I had just worked a 12-hour shift, and I went and to the midnight showing, and I was like, literally, I'm not ashamed to admit it, I was so tired. I was dozing through the entire movie till Yoda ignited that lightsaber and turned into a flying gnome.
yeah.
I mean, my friends will even tell you when that happened, I went from slouched down in my chair, half asleep, to sitting on the edge of my seat going, "Oh, wow." Because it was a crazy intense moment. First time we had seen Yoda fighting with a lightsaber. And it was fabulous. That was a great one. What did you think of that one, David?
Well, it's funny because you list 3 honorable mentions here, and I had all 3 of those in my mind when I made my top 3, top 5. Absolutely, completely agree with you with what you have here. I thought about this battle. You can see why Lucas was really pushing Rob Coleman, the director of animation at that time at Lucasfilm, to get Yoda animated, because he wanted to have him battle, and not just Dooku, right? But then Darth Sidious, one of the ones I mentioned. So it was just groundbreaking, and to see how they did it, and it was great when he opens up his cloak and he pulls the lightsaber over with the Force and lights it up. You're like, holy crow! And so it's on, and so absolutely agree. That's I'm sure a lot of people were thinking about that. Like you said, screaming at their phone or their iPad listening to this. But completely agree with you. Love that battle, and you've seen, Christopher Lee and some of his comments about how fun it was to shoot those scenes.
Oh yeah.
Against Yoda. Yep. Completely
Oh,
agree.
absolutely. Great battle. Then another honorable mention we had, of course, was from the Obi-Wan series, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which for me, and I don't know how you felt about it, for me, this definitely was an honorable mention. It was what we call Obi-Wan versus Vader take 3, because we got him in A New Hope. Then, of course, that was the original fight we saw. Then in Obi-Wan, we see the first fight where Obi-Wan kind of gets beat down and dragged through the fire and this and that. But that final battle in this series was, and I guess this technically, if you go in time frame order, by if chronological order of the series, not necessarily the saga chronological order, not release order. Chronologically, this would technically be Obi-Wan versus Vader. Yeah, it would be 3 because Revenge of the Sith, then these two. Yeah. So it's number 3. A New Hope would technically be number 4.
Yeah.
But that fight there, we're on that rocky barren planet, when they go at it, and you can see Obi-Wan coming back into his element. He has not used the Force for so long and has been trying to stay hidden. And now the Master is reasserting himself and his control over the Force. And you could see that progression through the fight. And it's very dark. So you see the sabers are popping. The lights on Vader's chest controls are popping. It is just, it's just a smoking fight. It literally is. It's hot. Especially when the mask gets broken and you hear Matt Lanter.
Oh yeah.
As Anakin come through. Oh man. So intense.
Well, it's, seeing that cracked open, the helmet, and hearing Anakin inside talk to Obi-Wan, and say, you didn't kill me, I did all that, right? It was just so powerful. The lighting, like I said, seeing one of Hayden Christensen's eyes, really, really well done. And I was really glad it was that good, because the first one was, I think a lot of people thought was pretty lame, but you couldn't have a really big knockdown, drag out one and then have this one. So it was really good.
It really was. It truly was. So the last honorable mention we got on our list is one that I'm sure a lot of people will agree with. And in all honesty, probably could have subbed out for almost any of the fights on the list we have now in our top 5. But this one was just fantastic in and of itself. And a lot of work went into this on the production side of this fight. And this is straight out of Clone Wars Season 7, the Siege of Mandalore arc, where we have Ahsoka Tano versus Maul. In that fight there on Mandalore, where they start off in the throne room where Maul killed Satine, not Sabine. Gosh, he definitely did not kill Sabine. Tried to, never did. But he killed Satine, the Duchess Satine, killed Pre Vizsla. This was the throne room of Mandalore. The fight starts there, exits out into the city, ends up in the rafters of the dome, and is just so fantastic. It's such a fantastic fight. Very cinematically shot. Very easily could have been a movie, a fight straight from one of the movies. It was so perfectly shot. And the fact that they brought in Ray Park and I just blanked on the lady's name to do motion capture for this fight was just, perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect. Perfectly executed. And it was, and it told us, this fight in and of itself told its own story. And just hearing some of the things Maul was saying, because Maul, if people would have listened to Maul, the saga would have been completely different.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I remember going in the episode talking about, I'd written down in our show notes back then, like what he said,
mhm.
His lines. I need to go back to him, but uh, listening to Sam Witwer do Maul and what he says, I mean, he's just laying it out. But it's like you said, it's a great battle. We see Ahsoka so much further along than when we first saw her. And again, Maul is Maul. He's not Darth Maul anymore. And had Sam Witwer sign one of my DVD cases with Maul on the cover. He signed it Maul. So yeah, it was one of the. I absolutely agree with you. An honorable mention. It's right up there with Yoda, Dooku, and Obi-Wan versus Vader 3 there in the Obi-Wan series. But cinematic, again, beautiful setting, and just incredibly powerful too.
Oh yeah, definitely powerful. And it was a fantastic fight. All of these were fantastic duels and fantastic battles, and were definitely worthy of to be mentioned in the I forgot the line. Carabast.
Is that Dooku?
Dooku, yes.
The Jedi Archives or something.
The Jedi, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Carabast, I forgot the line. So, but anywho,
Okay.
we want to hear from y'all. Let us know what y'all thought of our list. Tell us what your favorite lightsaber battle is. We'd love to hear from you and get your thoughts and opinions. Of course, you can hit us up on any of our social media sites. We're on Facebook and X at SW Reactions Pod. You can also find us on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, Tumblr, Pinterest, and Blue Sky. Just search out SW Reactions and you will find us. Of course, you can always email us at Star Wars Reactions, email us at swreactions@gmail.com. And of course, you can always leave us a voicemail telling us your favorite lightsaber fight there at SpeakPipe at speakpipe.com/Star Wars Reactions. Oh, I made it through without messing up this time.
Oh, you do a great job with that, buddy. That can tire the lungs out.
It can. I did mess up our email though, Carabast. Who else? Anywho, that pretty much wraps it up. Any final thoughts before we close out the episode, David?
No, I guess I hope the only thing I would say is I hope people really enjoyed this and kind of think about a lot of these battles, and it'd be interesting to hear what they have to say, if they have different rankings, which ones did we miss in our top 5 and honorable mentions. Be interesting to hear. There is a lot. There's a lot in the Clone Wars, Rebels, even that micro series. There's a few in the micro series that I thought about involving Grievous. So there are a lot more. Just know that we could have our top 20, I guess. But hopefully people enjoyed our lists and just enjoyed a fun little conversation about lightsabers.
There we go. Absolutely. And of course, David, if somebody wants to chit chat with you about Star Wars lightsabers or anything in particular, how would they go about doing that?
Absolutely. There's Twitter X. My handle there is at David_Modders, MODDERS. Instagram, just look up my name. I haven't been posting a whole lot there, but been busy recording other podcasts like Aaron has been. So let's see, like Aaron mentioned, Blue Sky. If you hit up our emails or any of our socials, Aaron will pass those on to me, and he has recently been getting a few, and so he's passed them on. So, how about you? How would they get a hold of you, buddy?
Oh, well, of course, anytime you hit up the show socials, you'll find me. Or, of course, if you do want to message me directly, you can always hit me up on my personal Twitter X at TAHarris121079, and we will have some fun. Well, David, are you ready?
I believe so.
We got to end the episode right. And the only way to end a Star Wars reaction is with a Star Wars dad joke of the week.
All right, let's do it.
And since we did a lightsaber episode, it's only right that we do a lightsaber dad joke of the week.
Oh, all right, let's do it.
So here we go. Which part of the lightsaber is the coldest?
Oh, what part of the lightsaber is the coldest? I don't know.
The Kyber crystal.
Oh my gosh. You loved it. You just get the greatest joy out of this.
I really do. I love these. It's a highlight of my week, my friend. Kyber crystal.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's actually a good one.
Yep, I guess that would be considered cold fusion, huh?
Oh my. Okay.
Oh, Lord, help me.
I know. Lord help me. People pray for me. I always like when we have guests on, and then they can kind of take some of the brunt of it off of me. They take some of it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my friend, this has been a blast.
Absolutely. Great to be back on with you, buddy, and just have a fun little episode to record there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We love y'all. We're praying for y'all, wishing y'all the best. We love it when you join us each week. Of course, like I always say each week, this is the year of kindness. Do something kind and generous for somebody this week. I mean, just even a helping hand around the house or around the yard, just buy somebody a cup of coffee, whatever it may be. Just do something kind for somebody, and you'll be surprised how much one little act can change not only one person's life, but yours as well. So remember, this is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.